After my massive effort finishing the African quilt top, I wanted something fairly zen, fairly easy that would keep up my enthusiasm for sewing and maybe progress a few projects, but that didn't take the mental energy that the African quilt did. It was pleasurable work, but it was a bit like work. There was a lot of maths and adjustment and all sorts of things. It wasn't straightforward. So this is what I did. In my sewing room, I like to have a television where I can see it from my sewing station. So that's there. This is here. I did have one. It was one that one of my sons had been using as a computer screen, and I connected it up to a DVD player, and I connected it to YouTube and a couple of other places where I like to get tutorials from. And I could have a DVD on as background noise when I was sewing, or I could watch a tutorial from my sewing station, which was where I was going to be trying to put it into effect. And I really, really liked it. And then one day it went bang and died. So I've waited for a big sale, and I've bought another, the smallest one I could get, which I think is a 32-inch. It probably could have gone smaller if they were available, but yeah. Anyway, so I've got a new one. Now I have to clear off all the stuff that I've managed to accumulate in the spot where the TV needs to go and set it all up. So that's what I'll be doing for a little while this morning. Hopefully it's going to work because it's raining and miserable outside, and it's a perfect day to be in the sewing room making things. It's all set up now, and I can get on with my Zen sewing day, which will be very nice. I do find I'm more motivated when I have a DVD on in the background. I think it's a Pavlovian response because that's something that I've done when I used to cross stitch, when I used to sew, and I don't do it when I'm knitting because I have to focus on the pattern, but it just seems to be my signal to my brain that this is time to sew and just get stuck in now. This little bit of video is a special one for my mum. The doll in this video was given to me by my grandmother when I was 2. So Cindy is in her 60s now, and she's wearing a little dress that my mum sewed for her and a little cardigan that my mother knitted for her. So I just wanted to put this in for my mum, who lives interstate and I don't see very often. After yesterday's triumphant completion of the Easy Win blouse, I'm going to do some fairly basic sewing today, just zen zone kind of thing, happy place. I'm going to work on some more scrappy blocks for the terry quilt. So they're basically 3.5-inch blocks, using up scraps, all sorts of different arrangements, all sorts of bits and pieces in them. So I just have a small bundle here of little bundles of fabric that are going to make a block. I like to do that in front of the telly sometimes. It makes it much faster when I get in the sewing room, and it's just a very calming thing to wind down at the end of the day. So I'm going to work on those. Then I think I'll have enough to actually put it up on the board and start making a quilt out of it. But I still have my steampunk kinship quilt up there. So that is
this quilt from Gnome Angel, and I don't know if Karen Brown from Just Get It Done Quilts was involved at that stage, but that's the original kinship one that I worked on. It's 100 blocks. The idea is to do them in 100 days, post them online in the forum, and just be part of the community making those. So I actually made this quite quickly. It was my second kinship quilt, and it was after everybody finished theirs. Well, not necessarily finished, but it was after the 12 months was over and done with. So I had a heap of blocks up on my design board. There was pale pink in them. It's a very grey and grungy kind of aesthetic for steampunk. I had some pink in some of them. It needed to be a dirtier pink. So I've unpicked the blocks and I've added some different pinks in. And I think I have about 12 of those. So I'm going to finish those and put the whole quilt up on the board and see if I can get that quilt top together as well. Hopefully fairly soon. I'm incorporating a panel which has all sorts of gears and things in it. So that's going to be the really interesting challenge in that quilt. And I've really got to have a think about how I'm going to do that. I don't want to applique it over the top of blocks in the quilt. I may end up appliquing blocks over the panel, but I'll just have to work out how I'm going to do that. Probably just turn under a seam allowance and sew around, but yeah, I'm still thinking that one through. So today, and when I was making the 3.5 inch blocks for the terry quilt, I found a lot of kitty fabrics in it. So I pulled those out. Instead of incorporating them in the terry quilt, I'm going to make a separate kids quilt out of those. So as I go through doing the designing, I will pull out any more kitty prints that I find, and we'll see what size of a quilt I can get out of that. And we'll see if I need to end up making more of these, more of the 3.5 inch blocks as well. There might be a lot. I had a lot of kids fabric in my stash because I had kids and I had to make them quilts. And so that's basically what I'm going to be doing today, just putting things under the machine, pressing, cutting, and having a fairly zen kind of relaxing day. I'm just having a little bit of a do as I say, not as I do session here. What I'm going to say is measure twice, cut once, otherwise you end up with this block's 1/4 inch too small. So what I'm going to do, I've flattened out the seam and I'm just going to sew inside that seam, give it another enough to make up, to be close enough to the 1/4 inch that I need. This one is just a little bit short. I think this guy is a bit long, this guy is a bit short. So I'm going to add a strip to the bottom, and I think I'm going to have to unpick this seam, take a bit out of the top of that, because I need to have at least 1/2 inch down the bottom. That's going to make it too big. So I'm going to have to take some out of here. I can't take it out of the half square triangles because I'll lose my points. We can't have that. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just fixing a bit of carelessness. This is most of the blocks from the steampunk quilt. I've got 6 left. I've put them all together. There's a panel in the middle there that I want to incorporate, and those are all the blocks. It's clearly too long. I'm going to need to make some more blocks to make it wider. No, it's not too long, but it's not wide enough for how long it is. Let's put it that way. I'd like to, there are 100 blocks altogether.
and I would like to make a queen size quilt out of it. I'm actually reasonably happy with that layout. I mean, the pinks are still pretty startling, but not as bad as the pastel that I had before. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there for 24 hours, have another look at it. Actually, I'll probably have another look at it in 2 days' time and go from there. I've only had a little bit of a fiddle with the blocks to even out the colours a bit. I haven't even done a grayscale photo to see what's really standing out. I just love the blocks. They're just such fun. It's not, I mean, they've got really, really cute things like the mice and the dogs and the cats. So it's not a really serious steampunk, but it has the aesthetic, which is new territory for me. I usually go very bright, which is why there's pink in it, because it stands out, it's bright. I couldn't resist. But it's also because of the bats. I love that fabric. It's a bat carrying an airship. I just love them. Fell in love. They had to be included.